Hey guys, so Lord here, back again with another review, and today we'll be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Bane MegaFig. Now before we get into it here, let's first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, Bane does come with a collectible trading card with artwork from some kind of source material. I don't know, it just looks like a modern rendition of the classic Nightfall Bane to me, which does not match the figure in question at all, but I digress. On the back there's a bio for Bane, which you can pause and read at your own leisure. Long story short, he's a crazy Spanish guy that broke Batman's spine once. There you go. And he also comes with the hockey puck display stand, which we're used to seeing in this line. But you guys know damn well that this figure don't need none of that shit, because unlike Man-Bat, he's got ankle joints that are actually able to support his weight, which isn't a whole heck of a lot. He's not the heaviest mega figure in the world, but he does have some size to him. So taking a closer look at this glorious figure here, I think at this point in time it's safe to say that, yeah, Clayface has officially been dethroned from my top whatever action figures of the year list, because this guy kicks his ass. This guy also kicks Man-Bat's ass, he kicks Killer Croc's ass, he kicks Sabac's ass, and he kicks Necron's ass. Granted, I haven't reviewed like half of those yet, so spoiler alert for future content. But at any rate, you guys know how I feel about Bane. He's my second favorite Batman villain, and no, I'm not going to be comparing him to the Last Night on Earth collectible Bane, because that Bane is an entirely different kind of animal. It's a very specific interpretation of the character, and it doesn't really make sense to compare him to something that's a little bit more traditional. That said, you could argue that this is Todd's version of Bane, because it's like the Nightfall Bane with some extra shit slapped on him, like this gimpy ass harness here, which I'm not a fan of, but I've grown to tolerate. It's not my ideal look for Bane. I like Bane to either be just like a tough guy who gets a little bigger, or just completely roided out monster like in the Arkham games or Injustice, something like that. I think Injustice 2 he was toned down a little bit, but the Injustice 1 version, that's my ideal look for Bane, or looks I should say. And all you guys who are out there naysaying the Todd father and talking all kinds of shit, I know that all you guys who passed on this figure because you're like, I don't like McFarlane toys because I'm a Hasbro junkie. Don't be a Squidward. Don't miss out on this figure. This figure's badass. And I know that all you guys talking shit now are going to be kicking yourself so hard in the ass your foot's going to be coming out your mouth when this guy is sold out everywhere and going for stupid money online. So don't be that person. Don't be a stinky poopy butthole. Just buy this damn figure and appreciate how awesome it is. Moving on. As far as articulation goes on this guy, his head can rotate. Be careful of the tubers. I clipped my nails for this review, so I didn't wreck those. But you can turn his head a little bit. It can look up a little bit and down. Just be careful where you grab it. I luckily have small dedos, small little fingers, and I'm able to get in there and move it around without any problems. I will say I did have some like excess glue on this tuber over here. I was able to chip that off, so maybe be careful with that. As far as the shoulders go, they can move out to the side, almost a perfect T-pose, so not too bad. They do move down, they do move forward and back. It doesn't have that butterfly in there, but I don't miss it. Wouldn't have done a whole heck of a lot anyways. He can get, I think 90 out of this elbow. A little less than 90 maybe. It might be able to pop one more clip than that, but these elbows are super tight. Yeah, you can hear that. And then he's got swivel in the elbow as well. He's got a hinged wrist, which is just on one axis, which makes sense because of the type of hand it is. And then he does have rotation there as well. I did have to heat up this wrist a little bit, just because this was a little tight out of package, but it's fine now. That said, I do wish he had some fist hands, because there was a lot of empty space in that package. It would have been nice since Necron got his scythe. It would have been nice to get some fist hands with this guy, but these are actually a pain in the nards to pop out. I haven't popped them out on mine, but in trying to loosen this up, I did give this a little bit of a tug, and yeah, it didn't just pop right out, so maybe that's for the better. As far as his torso goes, this is my only major gripe with Articulation. He's got nothing in the midsection here. It's all in the waist, and it's pretty much just a swivel. So that kind of sucks. You can't have him breaking the bat. Especially when the Overkill MegaFig and even Cygor had a shit ton of range down here. Kind of sucks that they couldn't do the same for old Bane here, but it is what it is, I suppose. He's got his Venom tuber here on this side, I forgot to mention, with the button to activate it. Now, am I tripping, or doesn't Bane usually have a tube going from his arm to somewhere on his back or even his head? Because the other Banes I pulled out for comparison, their tubers go to the back of their heads. And while I know this isn't supposed to be those versions, shouldn't this go to this thing here? This big old Venom tank, which almost looks like a jetpack. Seems to me like it's unfinished and wouldn't work correctly, but you know, I've been wrong before. All I know is anytime Bane has tubers going to his arms, they always go to his back. So this is the first time seeing that for me, at least. Again, I don't read comics, so what the hell do I know? I just watch cartoons and watch videos related to comics, I guess. As far as his hips go, he can kick forward pretty well for a big dude. You can see that. Kick back a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. You can kick out to the side, nice and tight. Look at that. That big old joint there. But he can do full-on splits. Okay, Hasbro. Bane can do the splits. Spider-Man cannot do a split this good with a drop-down hip. What the hell's wrong with you? Sorry, but I felt the need to talk shit there. I feel I need to talk shit all the time. What am I talking about? He's got a thigh cut. Works pretty good. Double jointed knee. It's all nice and crunchy. Kind of difficult to get the second one to bend here, but you can get about that much. And it looks okay. It's a little flat, but it's not the Cliffs of Dover, so I'll take it. I'll take a flat knee over a big gargantuan pile of chunkage any day of the week. Yeah, this knee is tight as hell. Okay, we're just gonna not futz with that. Then he does have a hinge in the ankle, which is nice and tight. Detented ankle with plenty of detents in there. I like that. Then he's got an ankle rocker, which was tighter, I think, when I opened him, but it's loosened up a bit now, probably because I've had him posed. This side's a little tighter. Then he has a toe joint, which is tight, in neutral, on both sides. You're freaking welcome. I'm taking credit for that because I bitch about the toe joints all the time in these reviews. So, you got a problem with that? Suck it. I don't care. I love this figure, though. This figure is the shit. It is one of my top 10 favorite figures of the year. Probably my DC Multiverse figure of the year. Probably gonna be. Because while I love Scarecrow, that new Frontier look's not really doing it for me. Looks like he rolled into a thrift store. Rolled out of thrift store, maybe I should say. Oh, his knee wasn't popped all the way. That's probably why it was a little funky to stand there for a minute. But I love this Bane. I think when it comes to the big chunky monster guys, Todd knocks it. Nuck. What am I, an Ewok? Freaking, I don't do Star Wars on this channel anymore. What the hell? But when it comes to these big, scary monster type characters, Todd knocks it out of the freaking park, and this is no exception. This figure is a gem in the DC Multiverse line. Easily the best Mega figure of the year for the line, and probably one of the best Mega figures since McFarlane started doing Mega figures back in late 2021 last year. So yeah, I highly recommend you pick this guy up. If you're not going to, I'm sorry, but you kind of suck and are a little bit lame, or you're just not into DC, which is fair. That's a fair argument. If you're not into it because you're shitting on the Todd Father, you gotta find some happiness in your life, man. There are too many awesome things out there to be a salty pretzel all the time about. So, with that being said, review/rant aside, it was a positive type rant, I guess. Let's now move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's our new-ish Bane Mega figure next to a couple of more traditional-looking Banes from the fine folks over at Mattel. We have both the DC Superheroes version and the super rare and super expensive on the secondary market Collected Connect Bane from, I think it was DC Classics Wave 16, if I'm not mistaken. Both of which were sculpted and painted by Four Horsemen Studios. If you guys know how I feel about Four Horsemen Studios, you know that I absolutely love their work. True masters of their craft, but I have to give it to the McFarlane one. I think that is my favorite of the three here. However, I do really appreciate the super retro classic Nightfall look of the Collected Connect, and if we were to take that and this new MegaFig, throw them in a blender, I think we'd have the perfect Bane figure. What do you guys think? Next up, here he is alongside a couple figures of the Dark Knight from the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line, just so you guys have an idea of how Bane scales with more standard-sized figures of this line. We have the Rebirth Batman and the Three Jokers Batman, who is a little bit taller, so Bane is not quite as massive, which may be less cool to some of you out there. That said, if you like your Bane to be freakishly humongous, he is a lot bigger than the Rebirth Batman, who's a little bit on the shorter side. So pick your poison here, but I think as far as the aesthetic of this Bane is concerned, he works the best with the Three Jokers Batman, even though that is not my favorite, more traditional looking Batman in this line. And last, but certainly not least, we have our two Irregulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, Livid Spawn, who's not towering over everyone today, because let's face it, not only is Bane a MegaFig, but if anyone's going to kick good old Al Simmons' ass, it's going to be a giant, pissed off Spanish guy. So that being said, time to wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and at this point, I think it's safe to say that Clayface has officially been dethroned from my top 10 action figures of the year list, because while this may not be my ideal version of Bane, this is by far the best Mega figure we've gotten in the DC Multiverse line so far this year. And as far as Mega figures as a size of figure goes, this is by far one of the best that McFarlane Toys has ever made. So with that being said, there's not a whole heck of a lot more I could say about this guy other than if you haven't picked him up already, you better do so as soon as possible. He's starting to sell out, and I'd hate for anyone to miss out on a figure as freaking fantastic as good old Bane here. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you are so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. And if you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when I know a few of you guys out there are going to miss out on this figure and regret it later. Don't be that person. Nobody likes to be a Squidward. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.